to today's yoga and mobility live stream. It is so important to keep our muscles supple, especially after a workout. So we're going to begin with yoga, get warmed up, and then we're going to move into the mobility component of today's live stream. So let's go ahead and begin with a chair flow. We're going to bring our arms back and bend the knees. This is going to be a fast-paced flow because what we're wanting to do is warm up. So this is going to be very much a beginner's sequence because our focus today is going to be on mobility. Now, as we're doing this chair flow, we're really reaching back with our arms so we can also open up our chest. We can get those shoulders warmed up. And we can also get ourselves completely warm because when we're bending with our knees, we're getting into a bit of a squat position. So we're warming up our quadriceps as well as our glutes. I can definitely feel my shoulders popping a little bit. We're going to go ahead and hold the chair position. And then we're going to return to our chair flow. And excuse the noise, there is some construction happening in my neighborhood. So there's some things that are beyond my control when it comes to the sound. And we're going to hold. And again, as I said before, this is really intended for beginners. I'm sure your arms are beginning to get a little bit tired. Maybe your quadriceps are beginning to get a little bit tired. And that's okay. The goal right now is getting nice and warm and moving in a little bit more fast-paced. Just moving a little bit more fast-paced in general. We're going to hold. And perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and get into those sun salutations. We're going to raise our arms up overhead. Swan dive into a forward fold. Walk our hands forward into plank. Come into the hovering position, so only the palms of our hands, the balls of our feet, and our toes are in contact with the mat. Coming up into upward dog. Tucking our toes underneath for downward facing dog. Stepping our right foot forward. Coming into lunge with our hands up overhead. Bringing our arms back down. Stepping that right foot back and stepping the left foot forward. Coming into a lunge on the left-hand side. Bringing our hands back down. Stepping back into downward facing dog. Walking our hands in to a forward fold. And slowly rolling up. So we're going to do this 10 times. And again, this is to get warmed up. Because when we're warm, that's when it's ideal to do mobility. Tucking the toes underneath for downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot forward into lunge. Bringing the hands down. Stepping that right foot back, left foot forward. Hands down. Downward facing dog. And walking our hands in, forward fold. And slowly rolling up. So that's 2 down. swan diving into that forward fold. When you're in forward fold, really allowing your head and your neck to relax. Coming into upward dog. Coming into downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot forward. Coming into lunge. Bringing the hands back down, stepping that right leg back. Left foot forward. Back into lunge. Hands down. Stepping that left foot back to downward facing dog. Walking the hands in to that forward fold. And rolling up. Hands up overhead. Swan diving into a forward fold. Walking the hands forward into plank. Bending at the elbows to come into hovering. Coming into upward dog. Tucking our toes underneath for downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot forward. Coming into lunge with our hands and our arms up overhead. Bringing both hands down, stepping that right leg back. Stepping the left foot forward. Again, the arms are straight up overhead. Bringing our hands back down. Coming into downward facing dog. Walking the hands back. Forward fold. And slowly rolling up. Walking the hands out. Plank. Bending the elbows, hovering. Upward facing dog. Tucking the toes underneath for downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot forward. Coming into lunge. Trying to maintain balance. Hands back down, right foot back, left foot forward. Hands down, downward facing dog. Walking the hands in, forward fold, and slowly rolling up. So we're halfway done with our sun salutations. Walking the hands out, plank, bending at the elbows, hovering, upward facing dog, tucking the toes underneath for downward facing dog, stepping that right foot forward, coming into a lunge, bringing the hands back down, stepping that right foot back, bring the left foot forward, arms up overhead, bringing our hands back down, coming into downward facing dog, walking our hands back in, forward fold, and slowly rolling up. Hands up overhead, swan diving into a forward fold, walking the hands out, plank, bending at the elbows, hovering, coming into upward facing dog, tucking the toes underneath for downward facing dog, stepping that right foot forward, coming into lunge, bringing the hands down, stepping that right foot back, left foot forward, coming into lunge, bringing the hands back down, coming back into downward facing dog, walking the hands in towards our feet, forward fold, and slowly rolling up. Last 3. Plank to hovering to upward facing dog, tucking our toes underneath for downward facing dog, stepping that right foot forward, coming into lunge, bringing the hands back down, stepping that right foot back, stepping that left foot forward, hair adjustment, bringing those hands back down, downward facing dog, walking the hands in, forward fold, and slowly rolling up. Last two. Forward fold. Walking the hands out. Bending at the elbows for hovering. And again, only the palms of our hands, the balls of our feet and our toes are in contact with the mat. Coming into upward facing dog. Tucking our toes underneath for downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot forward. Lunge. Bringing our hands back down. Stepping that right foot back. Left foot forward. Bringing our hands back down. Stepping back. Downward facing dog. Walking our hands back in. Forward fold. And rolling up. Last time, hands up overhead. Swan diving into a forward fold. Walking the hands forward into plank. Bending at the elbows for hovering. Coming into upward facing dog. Tucking the toes underneath for downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot forward. Coming into lunge. Bringing the hands back down. Stepping that right foot back. Left foot forward. Coming into lunge on the left-hand side. Bringing our hands back down. Stepping that left foot back. Coming into downward facing dog. Walking our hands in. Forward fold. And slowly rolling up. So let's get those legs a little bit more warmed up. We're just going to do simple squats. So coming down and up. And we're going to go like this for a little bit. Getting a little bit of a cardiovascular workout as well. Using our body weight for resistance. Let me go ahead and set my watch. Because we're going to be timing our mobility movements. And the reason that we're going to do that is because we want to hold those mobility movements using the tools for a little bit of a significant amount of time. I want to show you in real time what it takes to get really flexy and mobile. So I'm not just going to hold the poses or use the tools for a short amount of time. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Perfect. From here, we're going to get into the yoga twerk. So squatting down, maybe bringing those feet out, popping the bottom up, and doing a reverse good morning. We've got 20 of these. Pop and up. Perfect. From here, we're going to do a move I like to call suave. So we're going to have our feet apart. We're going to almost be not so much as in a straddle position, but close to it. We're going to come down to the left-hand side, down to the right, and come back up. We're doing this a little bit faster than I normally would, but again, we want to get warmed up to get ready for the mobility aspect that we're going to be doing today. You might feel a nice stretch in your hamstrings. And again, this is intended for beginners. The mobility aspect is probably intended for a little bit more advanced than beginners. Again, showing you in real time how to get more flexible, how to get more mobile, and how to get your muscles more supple. We're going to go ahead and reverse. Really feeling that movement in the hips. Exaggerating if you can. Lengthening if you can. And I call this move suave after a song, a Spanish song, because I had done a video a while back, a dance video, but I was using copyrighted music, so it didn't go through on YouTube. I thought I could use a playlist and for the music, and I have that playlist on my channel, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. Got about 3 more. All right, we're going to go ahead, lift our hands up overhead, get into that squat position, doing a flow, trying to keep our arms up as high as we can. And this is where we're starting to work on mobility. Ideally, your arms would stay as high as possible. You want your torso nice and tight. And there's that construction noise again. I'm not sure what they're doing, if they're building a new house or what's going on. But on my end, it's pretty loud. Hopefully the microphone isn't picking up too much of it. And again, we're moving at a faster pace because we really want to be warm. Got 5 more. All right, we're going to go ahead, open up our hands. We're going to be doing circular motions with our hands, reversing it back. And back again. Coming back. Now we're going to go ahead and add legs. Plie squats, to be exact. Reversing the hands. Reversing again. And last time. All right, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and start using our mobility tools. We're not going to end in Shavasana just yet because we're going to get into the mobility aspect of today's live stream. So I'm going to begin with the yoga wheel. Being on your knees if you can. Rolling back. Feeling a nice stretch right in here. And again, I'm doing this in real time, so these are going to be longer held positions. We're going to go ahead and gently move the wheel down, or up our back, I should say. Having our thumbs on the inside of the yoga wheel if you happen to have one. And if not, you can go ahead and get into full saddle position. Going ahead, moving the yoga wheel up our back just a little bit more. Really feeling that lengthening of our throat as we allow our head to fall all the way back. Going ahead, opening up our arms. You may feel some pops, that's totally natural. And slowly coming back up. We're going to use our yoga wheel again before we use the lacrosse ball. And we're going to target our calves. So we're going to roll. Let's start with closer to the bottom of our calf. Really pressing down with the weight of our leg. And just rolling back and forth. Oftentimes our calves are incredibly tight. This can be due to a number of reasons. I like to walk on the treadmill or jog on the treadmill sometimes. And when I'm using an incline, that's really using a lot of power from my calves. So I tend to have pretty tight calves. Once you find a spot or a knot, what I want you to do is go ahead and hold it and push down using some force from your leg, not just your body weight. We're going to slide forward just a little bit, and then we're going to keep on rolling side to side. Now you can also do this using the top of the kettlebell. But again, I really want to show this to you in real time, especially right after being warm from a quick beginner's yoga sequence, which is really just chair flow and sun salutations. Just moving it up at a faster speed. Because mobility does take time and effort. And what we can do to kind of get a double hit of mobility is go ahead and move your fingertips towards behind you, not towards your body, but behind you. Go ahead and lean back just a little bit. And a lot of people, from typing, from a myriad of things, may experience some pain and discomfort that might feel a lot like carpal tunnel. So this positioning, what it's doing is it's opening up the inside of our forearms. And that's going to lengthen those muscles. And then I will show you how to do the same thing on your forearms. So we're still rolling out that calf. We're going to slide down, continuing to apply pressure. And we're going to keep on rolling. And right here is where I find I tend to have major knots. So I'm really pushing down. And when I find a spot with a knot, that's where I stay still. And I try to have it released. Now, a great way as well to aid in releasing tension in your muscles is to slow down the breathing. So breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Nice and slow. Now, as I'm talking, that's not exactly something that I'm able to do. All right, we're going to go ahead, lower down that leg to get into a higher positioning on our calf. Oh, I feel a knot right here. So again, I'm going to push down with the weight of my leg, as well as using power from my leg. And try to get this knot in my calf released. Now again, mobility does take time. It takes effort. Some days you might be able to do, ooh, right there. So what you might also feel is a movement of the muscle. So you may feel it start to go from the left side to the right side, especially as you're pushing down on a knot. And what we're doing again is we're trying to release that tightness, release the knot. We're trying to regain the suppleness of the muscle. And right here is where I feel it the most. So again, I'm pushing down. And still getting also a mobility kick in the in my forearms underneath by having my hands positioned backwards. And if you want a little bit more, you can also kind of lean back a little bit more. And you'll start to even feel this stretch in your biceps. So we're targeting two different parts of our body. We're targeting the underneath part of our forearms, and we're targeting our right calf. Okay, I felt that release. So we're going to go a little bit higher up on the calf. And we're always going to stay underneath the knee. We're never going to go directly underneath the knee just for safety reasons. Again, pushing down, especially when we find a knot or a place of extra tension. And because I do incline on a treadmill, that's generally why my my calves tend to be compressed. And maybe you saw that movement. So let's go ahead. Let me see if I can show it to you again. And also keeping the foot relaxed. So you can flex or point if you would like. But I like to keep my foot relaxed because I'm really trying to focus on releasing my calf without added resistance. So when we're pointing or when we're flexing, it's moving the muscle. and it's not getting maybe as deep as you would like. So keeping that foot relaxed is definitely important. So right here, as I'm moving toward the right-hand side, I want you to watch my leg. I'm pushing down, and right there, that little movement is not so much the muscle releasing, but it's definitely breaking up the tension in my calf so that way you can physically see that little movement. We're going to move up one more time to the top of our calf. This is where sometimes I would suggest using a kettlebell for this positioning, because with the yoga wheel, our heels, depending on how long your legs are, our heels may be close to the other end, which may prevent us getting as deep of a stretch, or maybe putting more weight on our heel than being able to push down solely on our calf. But either way, for me, the yoga wheel is still something that I can use. And I'm not feeling as much tension in the upper part of my calf. And again, I'm still holding this positioning with my arms, feeling that stretch in my biceps, feeling it in the underneath of my forearms. Really pushing down. But again, I'm not feeling too much tension up here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the left-hand side. Now we're going to go ahead, release those arms. They may feel a little bit stuck. We're going to turn our hands underneath. So what I want you to do is try not to put too much weight onto your wrists and focus more on putting weight onto your legs. Now, this may seem a little bit difficult because we're using the weight of our upper body to stabilize. But we're not going to hold this position with our arms too much. We're just trying to stretch out the forearm. So let me go ahead and move back so I can straighten out my leg. And again, beginning on the bottom part of our calf. So for whatever reason, my left calf is much looser than my right. Now, oftentimes, if you're right-handed, you're more inclined to use the right-hand side of your body. You're going to find that you're going to have a little bit more tension on the right-hand side of your body. We also want to think about our body and our mobility as an X. So from our left shoulder to our right hip, from our right shoulder to our left hip, we're creating an X. But when we have more mobility in this hip, we're going to have more mobility on this side of our shoulder. And I'm going to go ahead and move back to that positioning. Or let's go to the side and just have stability, so that way we can have more power from our leg to push down on that calf. And while I'm finding some tightness, I'm not really finding any knots. Now, that doesn't mean that you should stop. If you're still finding tension, we still want to continue pushing down using the power of our leg. I probably should have labeled this video a how-to on mobility. And again, doing everything in real time, just so you know how much time it really does take to release certain muscles, but not taking too much time, because again, we do want to be warm while we're using our tools, since we're getting a little bit of a deeper, I guess a deeper stretch, but also just going deeper, because that's what these tools are for. Okay, I feel a knot right here, so I'm going to push down. Seeing if I can release it. Oh, I feel it really right there. And again, moving it left to right. Checking that inside as well, seeing if there's any tightness, but normally we're going to find it on the outside of our calf, not so much on the inside. But for some people, depending on how you move, the exercises that you do, how active you are, you may in fact find some, and the way that you walk especially. No one walks exactly the same. You can know this depending on the tread of your shoes, right? Everybody's tread is different. You may see this in crime TV shows when they're tracking footprints. So what we're seeing is that everyone walks differently. Everyone is applying weight differently. So you will notice the tread on your shoes being used differently depending on just on how you walk. And that's also going to be an indicator of where you're going to be tight. All right, going ahead, having that yoga wheel a little bit higher on the calf. And when I find that I'm in the middle of my calf, that's where I'm finding a lot of tension as well, but not as much as on my right hand side. And again, that's because with my body, I am more dominant with my right side. Now, the way you can combat that is when you know that you're dominant on one side of your body as opposed to the other, you can begin to, actively and proactively start using the other side of your body. So a lot of times when you're right-handed, you're going to be opening doors, like car doors. You're going to be opening up the doors of your house with your right hand. So really making the effort to switch over to the left-hand side. Ooh, I feel a knot right there. Oh my goodness. Pushing down. And again, for you, it may be different, but this is where it is. Oh, right here. So I'm going to really push down onto that yoga wheel, but oh, right there. Ah, and sometimes it will move. The knot will move before releasing. That happens quite often. And it doesn't mean that you're not getting deep enough. It just means that you have to think about the time that it took for you to develop all this tension and these knots in your muscles. So it's going to take time to unravel that. Oh, right there. And really trying to remain static when you find that spot, but pushing down with your leg, using the power of your leg, not just the body weight. All right, now we're going to go ahead, slide down. That means we're going to have the yoga wheel higher up on our calf, aiming to find those spots of tightness. And right here, if you watch my leg, especially at the calf part, let me show you again that movement that you're going to see when the muscle, oh, I think I got a little bit of a, no, I didn't. Well, I did on the other side. So while my leg was more on the outside, I got a little bit of a release, but I still have that tightness more in the middle of my calf. So I'm going to go ahead, continue to move inside to outside. Because the fibers of our muscles are moving up and down. And what we're doing is we're targeting, by going left to right, we're targeting the linear aspect that our muscles are in our calf. Here is a knot. And again, mobility definitely takes time. It takes effort, as I said earlier. But when you can find the time to do this, oh, there we go. You are going to find yourself feeling so much better. You're going to find that your movement in general is going to be so much easier. You're going to increase your flexibility. There's so many benefits to having a mobility routine, not a mobility routine, but a mobility routine. And changing it up. So what I'm showing today, I do have some mobility videos that I've recorded in the past, and you can kind of see where I'm doing similar movements, but mobility can be and should be different depending on what exercises you're doing, depending on where you find the most tightness in your body. But I always suggest being warmed up initially, just so that way you can prevent any type of injury that you may incur when you have cold muscles. Now, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to incur an injury when you're doing it cold, but I just find when we're warmed up, we're going to get a better stretch, and it's going to be easier to release those knots, release those places of tension. And I found one right here, right on the outside, so I'm really pushing down. And as you can see, right in here. Now, I don't do mobility often enough, and I'm just like everybody else, right? Sometimes I want to avoid the pain, but I know that when I'm doing mobility, what I'm doing is I'm giving myself the ability to be more flexible, especially when it comes to yoga. But what you will find sometimes after mobility is a little bit of a decrease in strength, because what we're doing is we're stretching out the fibers of our muscles. And when your muscles are more compact, that's when you're going to find a little bit more strength. But when you are actively doing mobility after you're warm, when you're incorporating it more often into your routine, you will start to find that you will not be losing that strength, because now your muscles are going to be more pliable, and it's going to aid you in strength training. It will aid you in yoga. It will pretty much aid you in not age, just in case it sounded like I misspoke. It will aid in your recovery. All right, so finding that spot. And if you're doing this right, and if you're very tight, yes, it's going to be a little bit painful, but it is totally worth it. Really pushing down when you find a tight spot. Watch my leg right now. And you saw that little bit of movement. So finding it right here for me personally. And then last time, going a little bit higher. Trying to spend an even amount of time when we're focusing on one side of our body versus the other. You can spend an equal amount of time, or if you have more tightness and tension on one side of your body, you can go ahead and spend a little bit extra time on that side of your body. Because again, what we're trying to do is compensate for overuse. And that's why it's really important to try to be proactive and to go ahead and use both sides of our body. It's not about being ambidextrous. It's just about trying to equalize the force, creating a more balanced body, more balanced muscles, and maintaining just more balance all over. So again, really pushing down on areas of tension. And how we can test it now, because there's being put weight on my arms. Let me go ahead, release that a little bit, get some movement in there, get the blood flowing. I'm going to go ahead and move that yoga wheel since we will not be using it any longer. Getting back into downward facing dog, and if you were noticing my heels earlier, they were a little bit higher. So now we know, and you can see that the mobility that we're doing is going to work in real time. All right, so now often in our psoas and in our hips, we have a lot of tightness. There are different types of lacrosse balls that you can purchase. You can purchase ones that are just singular, but I like to use the double. What we're going to do is we're going to place the lacrosse ball right on the inside between our pubic area and our right leg. We're going to go ahead and allow just our natural body weight to open up that psoas, to open up the hips. And this can be incredibly painful if you're doing it for the first time or if this is something that you don't do on a regular basis. What happens is when we're doing a lot of sitting, we are going to have a shortened psoas. So I'm allowing my stomach to get onto the mat. And I'm going to go ahead and allow my forearms to become interlaced. And I'm going to move right to left. So again, our psoas is like that little, if you want to think about your psoas, it's kind of like that V on the outside beneath your torso. So again, in between your pubic area and your leg. So moving right to left because those fibers, again, are going up and down. Allowing your body weight to really help aid you in pushing down on that tight muscle. If you would like to kind of get a double hitter, you can go ahead and lengthen out that left. Oh, let me not squish my microphone. So lengthening out that left arm, getting a little bit of a twist. That's also going to push more weight onto your psoas using the lacrosse ball. But we can get a little bit of a stretch in our left shoulder. And again, if you can go ahead and be completely down on the mat, the only reason I'm not is because of the, I just don't want my microphone to break. And again, because mobility is often not done enough, I don't expect, a full release or anything in this movement. Now, what you can do as well is you can bend your knee. You can, open up that knee a little bit as well. So you can really target this area. Pushing down. You can even raise up that leg. You can push down with your hips to really lengthen out that area as well. Really have that lacrosse ball become in contact with those muscles. All right, we're going to go ahead and switch sides. So again, having it be at a slanted position with the lacrosse ball. Here we go. Okay, allowing our stomach to be on the mat for a deeper positioning. I'm going to go ahead and start to move my leg because I know that for whatever reason with me, as you can see, I can't raise yes, I can, but then it moves the lacrosse ball too much. But I can't naturally raise my left leg as much with my knee bent. So that just shows you that, again, with mobility, as we're working on singular sides, we're going to see that there's a difference, and everyone has a difference on each side. It's very hard to maintain balance all the time when you're not proactively trying to use both sides of your body. And again, you can do this simply just by opening doors with your less dominant arm, doing strength exercises, maybe using a few more reps on your less dominant arm, and just really trying to create that balance as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead, push down with my hips, open up with my leg, and now I'm going to push down, putting my pubic area more closer on the mat, or putting some force into it to target that psoas. Moving my leg with that bent knee up and down to really get the inside. And sometimes you may find that the lacrosse ball is moving a little bit. That's okay. Sometimes you may find that you need to have a little less of a slant in the lacrosse ball, especially when you're using a double lacrosse ball. So again, we're going to try and relax as much as we can. You can even move your hip to the left-hand side to get a different angle of your psoas, get a different angle of the inside of your hips. Really pushing down. Thought I heard a bug moving. I got scared. In doing this, I'm really pushing my weight down onto that muscle. And sometimes it's hard to accurately find it because, of course, we have our hip bones, we have our pubic bone. So sometimes we may get a little bit confused and we might just be going lacrosse ball to bone. Or you have such tightness in your psoas, it feels like you're hitting bone. But trying to find that middle part, again, it's going to be in between your leg and your pubic area. And straightening out my leg. Ooh. Okay. So bending and straightening again, but now I'm in a more angled position. I have more weight on the left-hand side because I've adjusted my hips. And now you're going to see a little bit of that shaking. And again, especially with the psoas, because a lot of people are in seated positions, especially if you have an office job. Ooh. Really feeling that pain right there. But because so often we're sitting a little bit too much, we're going to find it really tight psoas. So I'm going to extend my right arm. I'm going to go ahead and push up a little bit using the palm of my left hand, really trying to get a stretch in my right shoulder. You can even turn your head, place it down. You'll get a little bit of a stretch in the neck as well. You may feel it as well in your back. So right now we're kind of targeting a bit of a full body, and we're doing part of that X. So the left hip to the right shoulder. They are connected. All right, let me come back to having my legs straight. Seeing where I'm at right here. I'm going to go ahead and push up a bit so I can get a nice stretch in my back as well as on my right shoulder. Keeping that palm down with my right arm extended. All right, I'm feeling a little bit looser. You push down with that hip. All right, perfect. Now, another area that we find a lot of tightness, sometimes unbeknownst to us, is our glutes, our bottom area. So if you have a roller, you can always use the roller. But because I have the double lacrosse ball, it has a little bit of length to it, you can roll on that as well. So I'm kind of, since our glutes are made up of multiple muscles, you can kind of hit different areas, but I like to hit more the top of my glutes. Get a little bit of looseness. This is going to help with your back. And then kind of pushing down, moving right to left. I don't have to spend too much time on my glutes, but again, I'm doing all this in real time. I'm not intentionally trying to get a stretch in the underneath of my forearms right now, but I am, since I'm using it to anchor my weight, using my hands and my arms. If you would like, you can also kind of push your shoulders back so you can also get a stretch in your chest. The next spot we're going to hit after we hit our glutes is our chest. And oftentimes we find ourselves slumping. We don't find ourselves in a, good posture position. This is something that happens with a lot of people. So pushing down in places of tightness. You may feel some pops when you're really trying to open up that chest. And going ahead, switching sides, going on to that left glute. So I'm going to start with rolling up and down. You can also lift up that leg to really target the glutes a little bit more. Pushing down. This will help in positions like child's pose for sure. Downward facing dog as well. Moving left to right. Really utilizing this lacrosse ball. The lacrosse ball is super helpful. It's something that is definitely a staple for mobility. It's a really great tool. I highly suggest that you invest in one. You can find them at most sports stores, so outdoor sports stores. You can also find them online. There's so many different ones. I like to use ones that are rubber. I don't like to use the hard lacrosse balls personally. The yoga wheel, when I'm targeting my calves, is I still need to target the hamstrings. Okay, we'll come back to the hamstrings after we hit our chest and our back. And because I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit colder, I'm going to go ahead and go back to doing some sun salutations. So that way I can more effectively target these areas that I'm trying to get a little bit more mobile. All right. So again, sometimes mobility can be painful, especially when you have a lot of tightness and you don't do mobility as much as you should. Coming more to the outside. You can even come down onto that left elbow. Again, moving side to side, but I'm doing it nice and slow. Ooh. And again, when there's tightness, when there's tension, the lacrosse ball is, again, it's just such a good investment. They're not very expensive. You can usually find them for under $15, and you will definitely get your use out of them, especially when you're really trying to get mobile. Okay. So before we move on, actually, you know what we'll do? We'll go ahead, we'll do the hamstrings, and then we'll do our chest and our back. But since I feel like I'm not as warm right now as I was earlier, I'm going to go ahead and do some sun salutations. Bringing those hands down, stepping that right leg back, stepping the left foot forward. And I definitely feel more looseness. And with mobility, again, when you do it more consistently, you're going to find more flexibility, more looseness. Tucking toes underneath. Walking hands in. Rolling up. Swan diving into a forward fold. Walking our hands out to plank. Bending at the elbows. Tucking our toes underneath. Walking our hands in. And rolling up. I'm going to go ahead and also do that chair flow. So bringing our arms back and coming into chair. And again, it's just two simple flows that we're doing, but we're using this to get nice and warm, or to stay nice and warm at this point. Doing micro squats, moving our arms forward and back. Let's go ahead and get those into mountain position. And then going into chair. All right, so now that I feel a little bit more warm, I'm going to go ahead and hit my hamstrings first since we've been focused on the legs. So very much so, like when we're opening up one leg to come into a forward fold, we're just placing the lacrosse ball into the middle of our hamstrings, and then we're going to fall forward. And with this falling forward, again, we're applying weight to the hamstring. You can even move your leg with the heel static, right? So yes, the heel is going to move side to side, but it's not going to move side to side like this. You're going to go ahead and hinge from the middle of your heel. So our hamstrings are often really tight. And doing this is really going to help with flexibility. Pushing that weight down, coming more to the outside. Keeping that lacrosse ball in the middle. So right, when I say the middle, I mean in between your knee and your hip. You may even feel a little bit of a stretch in your calf as well. It just depends on how much mobility and how much flexibility you have in your leg. But right now we are aiming to target the hamstring. Also, what you may find, depending on how you're holding your leg, if you're able to hold your foot or your ankle, your calf, it just depends on, again, how flexible you are. You may find a stretch right in here. So we're targeting as well a little bit of our back. Even maybe a little bit of our obliques. So now I'm going to stay in a static position. I found a spot that's really tight. Taking those nice deep breaths, again, it is going to signal to your body to go ahead and release your muscles, to go ahead and lengthen and be more pliable and flexible. We are targeting an area of the brain with our breath that's telling our body to relax when we're breathing nice and deep. Again, because I'm talking during this, I'm not able to take as deep of breaths as I would like to, but I highly encourage you to, throughout this entire sequence, this entire session, to take nice and deep breaths, nice and slow. I just definitely want this to be technical, and that's why I like to speak a lot during these mobility sessions when I'm sharing them with you. So now moving from that static position to going left to right. We have 3 spots on our hamstring that we can get. We can get right above the knee. We can get that middle area, and then we can get the area that's below our butt, so below our glutes, but close to the glutes. So there's 3 areas of our hamstring that we can go ahead and target. But for time, I'm going to aim for the middle, and because this is a double lacrosse ball, it's also getting a little bit of the lower area as well. And that's where I find personally I have the most amount of tightness in my hamstring. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, we're going to get onto that left leg. So again, aiming the lacrosse ball for the middle of our hamstring, so right in between, the middle part being in between our knee and our hips. We're going to go ahead and come into that seated forward fold on our left leg. And if you would like, you can already begin to kind of move that leg side to side on top of the lacrosse ball. Or you can keep it static, just depending on where you find the most tightness. Now you can also have the lacrosse ball this way if you would like. I just prefer having it like this because I like to move my legs side to side and really target the tightness in my hamstring. And going ahead and experimenting with your body, experimenting with how you can apply more pressure to that hamstring, how you can engage more of a stretch in your back or a stretch in your neck. So that way we're kind of doing double duty. And so right now with this positioning, I'm feeling all this right here in my back stretching out. And again, the reason that I'm doing this in real time is just to kind of show you a pretty in-depth mobility sequence and showing you how much time you can really spend on these areas where we find a lot of people just don't have the mobility that they need due to sitting, due to inactivity, or even due to exercise and having these muscles be so compound and so tight. So really pulling your body towards your knee. You can again be in a static position. You can again experiment with the more upper part of your body with a little bit of a twist. So you can get a nice stretch in your back. Also, this is allowing you to apply more pressure to that hamstring. You can also move more towards the inside. And just finding the spot that is uncomfortable and where you're tight. So we can aim for a release, and we can also just aim for more lengthening of those muscle fibers. Really engaging that nice deep breath. All right, let's go ahead and hit our chest. So you can always kind of push right here, doing some circles with a lacrosse ball. I just don't find it as effective. I like to hit this area that is like our chest, but it's also underneath the collarbone. This is where we're going to find a lot of tightness. And by doing this position, we're going to go ahead and come into laying down on our stomach. We're going to bring, and again, you can bring the left arm down as well. Nice and straight, or the right arm, excuse me, nice and straight. And we're going to push down, or you can even just allow your body weight to have you hit that spot. You can move a little bit in this positioning. Because a lot of us are very tight in our chest, again, because of our posture. You can even kind of move that arm up and down a little bit. Woo! Moving the palm up and down as well. Trying different positionings. Again, experimenting with your lower body as well. Just seeing what is going to be most applicable for you when it comes to your chest and collarbone area. Now, remember, we are below the collarbone. We are not on the collarbone. We're right underneath it. Taking a few deep breaths. Again, experimenting with our body, experimenting with our body weight. And we're going to go ahead and come on to the other side. Now you can definitely stay in that position for a little bit longer if you need to. And on this left-hand side, because I have the microphone, I'm going to do it for a little bit shorter than I normally would, just because I don't want to break the microphone. I'm going to try something a little bit different than I did the last time. I'm going to go ahead and have the double lacrosse ball up and down. So there's some space between my chest and the mat. And just moving side to side, an incremental movement. And again, I'm below that collarbone. And I'm even feeling this in my scapula area as well, for whatever reason. So holding the lacrosse ball steady, if you're going to do it this way, extending that arm up. Again, moving left to right. Or holding static if you find a spot where you find a knot or you find extra tension or tightness. You can as well move it more to the inside of your chest. And again, we're still maintaining that positioning underneath your collarbone. And again, moving incrementally left and right. Really aiding in our posture. And again, just wanting to show you a little bit of variety using the lacrosse ball in the chest area. So on the right-hand side, I have the lacrosse ball flat. And on this side, I'm having it where the lacrosse ball, even though it's a singular one, but it has like two ends that are circular, having one of the parts on the mat and the other part on the body. And having that space between my chest and the yoga mat. Again, you can also kind of lift up your head, turn to look over your right shoulder, feeling it open up a bit, maybe feeling a little uncomfortable because this is a pretty deep stretch in your chest area. But this is, again, super helpful with posture. You can even bring your head down and up. Oh, man. And again, it's just these little movements and really digging in and really trying to release that tension that we're holding, again, to aid in our posture. I just found a super tight spot right where the chest and underneath that collarbone connect. Doing an incremental movement left to right. And perfect. All right, so with the lacrosse ball, especially a double-sided one, what you can do is lay on your back, having the space in between around your spine, getting the muscles that are around your spine, the erector muscles, right? We can do that just simply laying down. You can hold it static. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it right in here. So you're going to go ahead, come into a supine position. Find that spot where you're tight. We're going to move our arm down and, oh my gosh, okay. So even just opening up that arm, turning the head. Again, these are small movements, but we're releasing, I guess we're pretty close to the traps right now. So we're kind of releasing the tightness, the tension in that area. So we're right back here with the lacrosse ball. Oh. All right, coming to the other side. So now on my right hand side as opposed to my left. And again, experimenting, playing with different positions with your arms and your hands. and perfect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get to our last position. A lot of people like to work on their splits, right? But something that's really good to use is yoga blocks to aid in your splits. We're going to have it be on our, depending on how you want to have the blocks, you can have it be close to your pubic area, lengthening out that right leg, lengthening out that left leg. You have a little bit more stability. You can go ahead and lean forward if you would like. And you'll see that my knee is still bent because my hamstring, again, when we are doing mobility, consistency is ideal. Consistency is the best. There we go. So this is really going to aid you in getting your splits. And as much as I want to do real time with this, I kind of don't have the time to do real time with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and show this one to you, but you can hold this for up to 5 minutes. You can lean forward to get more of a stretch in that hamstring because we do need loose hamstrings to be able to get our splits. But I definitely feel that lengthening in my psoas. So I'm going to go ahead, switch sides. Having my left leg tighter than my right. Having that pubic area on the yoga blocks. Yoga blocks are another really great investment. Feeling those legs opening up, feeling those hips opening up, the inside of our thighs especially opening up. Leaning forward. And again, you can hold that position up to 5 minutes. So thank you so much for joining me for this live stream. Hopefully you were able to kind of get a major grasp on how we can improve our mobility using tools. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join as it is popping off on the other on the memberships. And again, I thank you so much for joining me for today. I will see you on the next video. Be well, stay wild as well.